All right, welcome back, everyone. So today we'll be learning how to build a backend using Rust, right, via Actix Web as our framework and SurrealDB as our data layer. All right, so let's take a look at what we'll be building today. So over here we have Postman. Okay, I am using Postman to demonstrate visually, right, how and what we'll be building as well. Right, so over here we have a get endpoint to get a list of pizzas. Yeah. So a very simple endpoint, and we also have a post endpoint for us to buy a pizza. So for example, if we want to buy a double meat pizza, right? And we're going to call the buy pizza endpoint using the post method, right? Double meat pizza. And if we go back to the list of pizzas, right, you can see that okay, we have our double meat pizza over here, right? That we have just added and bought. And of course, we have a patch endpoint, yeah, to update a pizza if and when needed to. Right, so this will be what we are building today, and let's jump right into it. All right, so for starters, we need to create our Rust project using cargo. Right, so cargo new, let's call this Rust underscore backend. All right, so that was pretty fast. And let's go into our newly created project. So cd Rust backend. All right, so by default, right, usually we have our cargo.tom and our src source folder. All right, let's clear this. Okay, so we will need a few crates in order to work and continue on this, right? So we will do cargo add. Okay, so the first crate, obviously we need Actix Web, right? That's our framework that we are using, right, to build our backend. Okay, and we also need JSON, right, because we'll be returning the results in JSON format, right? We also need cert, right, to enable serialization and deserialization, right? It works with JSON as well, right? And of course, SurrealDB as our database. And we need UUID to generate unique UUIDs for our pizzas. All right, we also need validator. This will help in validating the data sent to our backend, right, to ensure that the right type of data is being sent. Yeah, it will be helpful. And we'll talk about this later in the video, right? And we also need async trait. Yeah, this will also help towards the end of the video. We'll talk more about this, but it will help us in terms of maintaining your code, yeah, in the longer run, especially if you want to use traits for various structs in your Rust backend. Yeah, and lastly, we need derive more, which works with async trait as well, right? So these are the few crates that we need in order for this backend to work, right? So let's install them and we are done, right? So let's clear them and let's do a simple cargo build to ensure that by default, we can build this first, even though it's an empty Rust project for now, right? All right, so now that we have done compiling and building our empty Rust project, right, it's time to open up Helix and jump right into the code. All right, so we are now in Helix and we are now looking at the cargo.tom file. So once again, if you are coming from a TypeScript or React environment or background, you can think of this as the package.json equivalent. Yeah. Okay, so we need to make some changes to the dependencies here, especially for cert and validator. Yeah, because we want to use the traits provided by them. Yeah, and to do so, we need to modify how they are imported here. So, right, so we just need to declare the version and include the features. Yeah, by using derive. Right, so that you can use the traits with derive. Right, so that's for cert, and we need to do the same thing for validator as well, right? So version equals to and features equals to derive. All right, save that. And let's build it again by going back to our terminal. And let's do another cargo build. And that was fast because we didn't change much this time. Yeah, so let's clear that. All right, now let's go back to Helix. All right, so now we're back in Helix. And since we don't have any issues compiling, it's time for us to write the first version of our endpoints. Yeah, so let's go to our main.rs. Right, main.rs. You can see right now it's very bare bones, right? And all it does is print a hello world. Okay, but let's move this down because we want to write a few endpoints using Actix Web. All right. So to do that, first we need to import Actix Web, obviously. Yeah. So use, all right, Actix Web. Right. So with Actix Web, you can do something like this: get, and we define the endpoint route, which is pizzas. Yeah, which is what we saw at the start of this video. Right. And because we are dealing with a web framework here, right? This has to be asynchronous, right? Async function. Okay, and we're just defining the function that will be mapped to the /pizzas endpoint via get. All right, and responder. Right, so this is the default interface provided by Actix Web. Yeah. So by default, right, this is what it could look like. Yeah, a very bare bones version, right? So all it does, right, is just to return or respond, right, with a 200 OK status, right, with the message pizzas available. Yeah, so it's a very simple endpoint for now, right? But you can see, because we need to import this as well, right? Same thing. All right, let's save this. Okay, so now, this endpoint is not going to work because we have not attached it and we have not even defined, right, the server for our backend to run on using Actix Web. Right, so let's do that next. Okay, so to do that, we will need to modify the main function here. All right. Okay, and we're going to do that once again using Actix Web. Right, so you might notice that with the endpoint here, we're using this hashtag square brackets. Right, so this is a form of macros provided by Actix Web. All right, macros in Rust deserve its own video. Yeah, so there will be another video for another day. Yeah, okay. So, if we continue here, right? So what we're doing here is to tell Actix Web that, hey, this is the main function to start the backend. All right, and of course, once again, this will be async function, and we'll just return a result. All right. So once again, this is also something we have to import from Actix Web, yeah, as usual. Right, and let's remove this. Okay, we're getting some errors, but it's fine because we haven't made the necessary required imports, yeah, so it's fine. Okay, we'll get to that once we finish the code for the main function for now. All right, so over here we'll call HttpServer using Actix Web once again. Notice how it automatically imports it. Yeah. Okay, we'll create a new HttpServer. All right, and we'll create a new app once again provided by Actix Web. Right, so this is an Actix Web. Yeah. Right, we'll initiate and create a new one. And we'll call the .service function provided once again by Actix Web. Okay, and we'll pass in get pizzas, right? The function that we just created. right? Just above the main function, yeah. All right, and we'll bind this HTTP server to our localhost, yeah. So there will be 127.0.0.1, yeah. And if I remember, the port should be within it as well, right? Okay, and we'll do run. And oh wait, since this is a async main function, right? Let's save that. And let's remove the additional brackets. Save that. All right. So this is a very simple backend, but okay, let's run it, okay, by going to our terminal here. All right. So let's go to our terminal here, and if we do cargo run, okay, now the backend is running, and let's go to our Postman. Right, and if we do HTTP localhost / pizzas, right, and if we hit enter, right, you'll see that, right, just above my head, right, you'll see pizzas available. Yeah, so that is how fast and simple you can get a backend up and running. Although this is just a starting point with our first get endpoint. Yeah. So let's create 2 new endpoints for posts, right, for buying a pizza, and for patching, updating a pizza, right, an existing pizza, right? So let's go back to Helix. All right. So over here, we're going to create 2 new functions. Yeah, so one for buying a pizza and one for updating a pizza, right? One using post and one using patch, right? So let's do post first, yeah. Right, so remember the endpoint was buy pizza. All right, so once again, asynchronous function buy pizza. Right, for now we are not returning a JSON yet, so we are just returning a 200 status. Right, so for that we can once again using the HTTP response, yeah, provided by Actix Web, right? So buying a pizza, all right? And same thing for patch, yeah? Patch will do update pizza. Okay, so for patch, it will be slightly different because we want to know which pizza to update for, which is why over here, okay, you notice that we are passing in something interesting, right? Which is the UUID of the pizza, right? We'll get to this later in the video, okay? But for now, this will be update pizza, all right? And once again, we're just returning a simple 200 response with a simple string, yeah? So updating a pizza, okay? And of course, we need to let our server know about the new 2 endpoints that we just added, right? So because of that, we need to call the service method again on our app, right? So over here, let's do .service buy pizza and service update pizza. Right, so this will attach the 2 new endpoint handlers routes to our HTTP server, right? Once again, powered by Actix Web. Save that, and let's go back to terminal. Okay, and let's stop the server. Let's clear that. So you notice that whenever we are making changes to our backend, we have to stop and start the server, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, so instead of doing that and running cargo run every time, right, we can do cargo watch, right? So cargo watch and run, yeah. So what cargo watch does is whenever we make a change in the code for our Rust backend, right, this will automatically rerun and recompile, right? So think of it as the backend version of live or hot reloading for whatever JS framework you're using for your front end. All right. Yeah. So if we go back to Postman now, yeah, and let's create another tab here. Let's do post. All right. Let's call our localhost endpoint, but this time we are calling buy pizza. And you can see on top of my head, we're getting buying a pizza, right? So that's one of our new endpoints. And of course, let's do the same for our patch, but this will be update pizza, all right? Send, right? You'll notice that it says 404 not found, and that is because, okay, we need to pass in the UUID as well, right? So let's pass in a random UUID and send. Okay, there we go. Yeah, updating a pizza. All right, so we have added 3 new endpoints, yeah, to our Actix Web backend. All right, so usually for a post endpoint, right, it would take in a body, right, of information, which currently our endpoint, our post endpoint at /buy pizza doesn't. Yeah, so we'll have to modify it to do so. Yeah, so let's go back to Helix. All right, so we're back in Helix. Yeah, so in order to take in that body of content, we will have to create a new struct called buy pizza request. Yeah, because we are buying a new pizza, right? And we'll put it in a subfolder called models, right? And in a file called pizza.rs, right? So for that, obviously we need to create a models.rs, yeah, to let Rust know that, hey, we have a subfolder of models, yeah. So first thing first, right? Let's create the models folder and create our pizza.rs in it, yeah. Okay, and let's take a look in pizza.rs. Let me just write a comment. This will be pizza.rs. Save it. Okay. Right, and we also need to create our models.rs. Yeah. This will let Rust know that we have the models subfolder, right? Models.rs. And over here, we just say pub mod pizza, because we have a pizza.rs inside the models subfolder. All right. For now, we'll save this. And let's go to pizza.rs here. And okay, here we can create our buy pizza request. Yeah. Okay. So because this is a body of content that takes in JSON, we need to derive, yeah, from serialize and deserialize provided by cert. All right. And because of that, let's go to the top and we'll import cert, deserialize, and serialize, right? So use cert, right, deserialize, comma, and serialize. And of course, we need to put them in curly brackets, all right? And of course, we want to validate what is in the body. So with that, we will use the validator crate. Okay, so use validator, same thing. This will be validate. All right, and derive will derive, validate. All right, deserialize and serialize. Right, so this is for our buy pizza request. Yeah, so buy pizza request, and in it we want to validate the pizza name. Yeah, so basically we have a pizza name that will be passed in either from the front end or from the user. Right, so for now this will be just a simple string. Okay, but we want to validate it using our validator crate, and we want to say, hey, it must be a length. It must have a minimum length of 1. If not, we'll say text or name, let's say pizza name required. All right. And let's save this. Right. And that's it for now for pizza.rs in our models subfolder. Okay, let's go back to our models file. And over here, we need to let Rust be aware of our new buy pizza request. So we'll say pub use pizza buy pizza request. All right, save that. All right, and lastly, we need to let Rust know of the existence of the new models folder or module. Yeah, so let's go back to main.rs, and at the top, we have to say mod models. All right, you can see that the prompt is out. Yeah, so save that. And now we need to go back to our buy pizza endpoint to modify it so that we can take in the name of the pizza. So over here in buy underscore pizza, right, instead of being it empty with no arguments or parameters, we'll say body JSON, yeah, because we want to take in JSON. All right, and this will be by pizza request. All right, so it's that straightforward. Okay, now of course we want to validate the body of the JSON by pizza request. Yeah, so this is where the validator crate comes into play. So we can say let is valid. You can call it if valid or not. Right, equals to body dot validate. All right, so and we'll match this. Right, so depending on the results, right, we'll return different responses. All right, so we'll say, okay, if there are no errors, if there's a pizza name provided, okay, and of course we can retrieve pizza name by going into body, right? Let's do pizza name dot clone. Okay, there are other ways of doing this, but for now, to keep it simple, we'll just clone it. Okay, and okay, we'll just return a HTTP response once again for now. Yeah. Okay, we'll say pizza entered is pizza name. And if there was an error with validating, right, we'll just say pizza name required. All right. And if we save this, right, you'll notice that there's an error here because we have not imported this yet, right? Yeah, so let's do that now. Right, so we'll say use create models pizza by pizza request, right? And save that, right? Same thing for validate because we have not imported our validator crate yet. So let's do use validator, right? Validate and save. All right, and we also need to use our format method, right? So that this pizza name will use our pizza underscore name that we just gotten, all right? So save. And now let's go back to Postman. Okay, now if we go back to Postman here, and if we try to do another buy pizza, right, you'll say content type error. Okay, because we have not passed in any JSON yet. So let's do that now. All right, and if we pass in an empty JSON, right, notice that it will say missing field name pizza underscore name. Yeah, so this is the validator crate at work. Yeah, so you don't have to do any manual validation yourself. Yeah, so that's how powerful and useful the validator crate is. Yeah, so over here we need to pass in pizza underscore name, and let's say triple cheese pizza, for example. All right, and if we click send again, right, you'll see that it says pizza enter is triple cheese pizza, right? Just right above my head, yeah? So that's how you can take in the body of a post request. All right, now if we look at our patch endpoint with the /update pizza, right now it doesn't make sense at all because we are not able to get the UUID from the route. Yeah, so let's change that. So let's go back to Helix. All right, and we're back in Helix. So let's update our update pizza function over here so that we are able to capture and do something with this UUID, which is part of the route. All right, so let's modify this function signature to look like this, right? So we need to give a name. Let's call this update pizza URL. And this is a path provided by Actix Web, right? That should import it. And of type update pizza URL, which is not something we have created yet, but it's fine. All right. So if we save this now, all right, Rust will throw an error because we have not created update pizza URL yet. Yeah, so to do that, let's go back to our pizza.rs in our model file. Okay, and let's once again, same thing, we're going to use validate, deserialize, and serialize, right? Because we want to do serialization and we want to leverage on the validator crate. Yeah. So this will be update pizza URL, and we'll just have a UUID in it. All right. Save that. Okay. And also we need to go to model.rs. Yeah. So this is so that Rust knows that we have a new struct in the form of update pizza URL. All right. And we can use it in our main.rs. Yeah, so now that we're back in our main.rs, okay, you can see now we can import it. Right, so let's go to the top and over here, okay, we can put a bracket and we can put update pizza URL, right? Save, all right. And you'll notice that, okay, now, okay, we need to finish the rest of this update pizza function. So let's do that now. Okay, so to get this UUID out from the route, yeah. Okay, all we have to do is say let UUID equals to update underscore pizza underscore URL dot into inner. All right. Dot UUID. All right. Let's save that first. All right. And the path is not using the right path. Let's take a look. So this is actually not the right path. We should actually just use path. Yeah, we'll do. Or actually web path. Yep. All right. Yeah, so now if we try to do an enter into inner, we should able to see the UUID. Yeah, so that's provided by our update pizza URL type. Yeah. All right, and here we can say format, updating the pizza with this UUID. All right, let's close that bracket as well. Save that. All right, and now let's go back to Postman and check out what has changed with our patch function. All right, so now we're at our patch function. All right, at Postman. So for example, if we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, right, calling our update pizza function. Right, you see above me now it says updating the pizza with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Yeah, so that's how you can get the UUID from this route, right? So for example, if you want to update a specific object, Yeah, this is how you could do it. All right, at the moment, our 3 endpoints doesn't really do much because it doesn't really save the data persistently. Yeah, so this is where SurrealDB comes in. All right, so we have to install SurrealDB using this command. So let's go to terminal, our terminal here. All right, and we'll install this command. Using this command here, curl proto, using HTTPS protocol. Right, so that's just the SSL version and the URL. So I will copy and paste this command, as the top pin comment, right? So don't worry about that. Yeah. Okay, and we are using the nightly version because there's a bug with the current latest release version. So we are using a nightly version that fixes that bug. All right. So this is the command that you can use to install SurrealDB. Yeah. Okay, I've already installed it, so I will not reuse this command. Okay, let's clear that. And to start a SurrealDB server, or to check that you have installed SurrealDB correctly, okay, we can just say Surreal version. Right, you can see that, okay, we are using 1.0.0 and whatnot. Right, that's the version of our SurrealDB. All right, and to start a SurrealDB server locally, okay, first let's go into our Rust backend folder. Yeah, because we want to create the persistent DB here, right? So let's clear that, and to start the SurrealDB in persistent mode, we'll say surreal start file. We'll give a name to the persistent DB file. Let's call this pizza shop DB. All right, and we're passing the username and the password. Right, so the username and password is up to you. Okay, but for this video, we'll keep it simple. So we'll name it root and root. Yeah, so start. Okay, you should see something like this. Yeah, so to test whether SurrealDB is running and up, okay, we have to go back to Postman. Yeah, let's go back to Postman. And over here, if we do a request for port 8000, that's the default port, yeah, for SurrealDB, and we say /version, right? If the SurrealDB server is up and running, all right, we should see this, right, the version of SurrealDB as the response. Yeah, so you can see that it is up and running. All right. In order to connect to the SurrealDB via our Rust backend, we will need to create a database connection to it, which is why we are now back in Helix. Right, so we're going to create a new subfolder called db, yeah, and which is why we'll need a db.rs. So let's create that right now. Yeah, so this will be db.rs. All right, let me just save that. All right, we will also create a database.rs file in this new db subfolder. Right, so let's do that real quick. Okay, so db database.rs. Yeah, so if you take a look at the bottom left corner here, yeah, you can see the name of the file, database.rs, in our db subfolder. All right. Okay, and in here we will import our SurrealDB crate. So use SurrealDB. Okay, and okay, we use the engine from SurrealDB. Okay, and the client as well. Yeah, and of course the WebSocket. All right. We also use the root, or the authentication root, and we also use the error provided by SurrealDB. All right. Okay, and let's do a derive clone. Okay, and this is where we'll create our database struct. Okay. We should have a SurrealDB client in it. So this client is our Surreal client. Okay, so big C. Okay, and we have a namespace that will be used by SurrealDB. Okay, this will be a string, and the name of the database, once again a string. All right, let's save this. All right, yeah, so this is just the definition of the struct. So we also need to add the implementation for this new struct. Yeah, so let's do that with the implementation of this database. Okay, and we just need one simple function. Okay, which obviously is going to be asynchronous. Yeah, and we'll call this init. Yeah, and we'll make it return a result of itself or an error. I mean, if it fails. Yeah. All right, so first we'll initialize a client, a SurrealDB client. So we'll say let client equals to Surreal new. Okay, and WebSocket. Okay, and because we are testing on localhost, this will be 127.0.0.1. Okay, and on the port 8000. Right, so that's where our SurrealDB is at, port 8000 by default. Yeah. Okay, and of course, we need to await. Yeah, since this is asynchronous. Yeah. Right, and we just do a simple sign in. Right, using the authentication root. Okay, with a simple username of root. Okay, remember the command we entered to start our SurrealDB server. Yeah. Which included the username and password. Yeah, so this is just for testing and demo purposes. Okay, but in real life scenarios, yeah, you better change the username and password. All right. Okay, we're going to do an await here once again for the sign in function. Okay, and we'll call the use namespace function here. We just use the namespace Surreal. This is up to you what you want to use. Okay, and we'll call the use db function. In this case, we'll call our db pizzas. Yeah, and of course we need to await. Usually I wouldn't do this, but to keep this short, we'll just do an unwrap. Yeah, so the program will panic if there's an error in connecting to our SurrealDB. All right, and we just return the database. Okay. Once everything is okay, yeah. So namespace will just be a string from Surreal, yeah. And db name, you guess it, will be a string from pizzas. All right, and let's save that. Okay, so there will be some errors because we have not defined the module for this yet. All right. All right, and in our db.rs, okay, we have to let Rust know of the existence of the new struct. All right, so let's do that. So pub mod database, yeah, and pub use database. Yeah, so let's save this. All right, you can see that. Right, you can see here at the top, there's an error. It says file not included in module 3. Yeah, that's because we have not made the program, right? Or rather, we have not made Rust aware of our new DB module. Yeah, so let's go back to main.rs. And at the top, we'll say mod DB. All right. Okay, and of course we will have to say use create DB database. Yeah, so save that. All right, and now if we go back to database.rs, you'll see that the error is gone. So in our db.rs, yeah, you can see here we are making Rust aware of our new database struct as well. Yeah. Right. So now to connect to the DB, we need to go back to main.rs to create the connection. Yeah. So let's go back to main.rs here. And inside of the main function, yeah, before where we create our new HTTP server here, all right. Okay, we have to create and initialize a new database. Yeah, using the new database struct that we just created, yeah, in database.rs. So we say let db, okay, we just name it db, short for database, right? It goes to database. You can see that the prompt, right, the autocomplete is out, right? So we call the init function, yeah. Okay, and we'll call .await, and okay, we do a simple expect, yeah. So this will get printed out if there was an error connecting to the database, and we'll say let db underscore data equals to data. So this data will import from Actix Web. So this is provided by Actix Web as a way of wrapping around your data layer so that you can couple it with your HTTP server below, right? So we'll say data, new, and we'll just pass in the DB, right? It's as straightforward as that, right? And once we have done that, we can just do over here, .app data. Yeah, you can see here the information about this function. Yeah, basically we will just pass in db underscore data here, right? So save that. Yeah, and okay, you'll see that we have an error, and that is because, right, db underscore data, yeah, over here, it says that we cannot move out of db underscore data, which is a captured variable in a closure. Yeah. Right. So to resolve this, all we have to do is call move, yeah, over here, and just clone it. Right. Save that, and the error is gone. Yeah. So using clone here is just one of the ways to resolve this, but there are better ways, but we'll not get into that for this video. Yeah. So in addition to using Actix Web Data Wrapper to wrap around our database, our SurrealDB database, this will also in turn allow us to use SurrealDB in combination with our endpoint routes. Yeah. All right. Now, before we move on to leveraging on SurrealDB, right, in the endpoint routes that we have created, okay, we will first have to create a new struct to act as the model. All right, so let's go back to pizza.rs and create a new struct called, you guess it, pizza. All right, so we'll call this pizza, yeah. And of course, it needs to be validated, right? It needs to be serialized and deserializable, yeah. Right, so we'll do the same thing as above with our update pizza URL. Okay, yeah. And maybe I'll just put in debug for testing purposes, yeah. And to keep it simple, for this pizza struct, we'll just have two attributes, yeah. So one is the UUID for us to keep track. So this will just be a simple string, and we will just have the name of the pizza. Right? Once again, a simple string. Yeah. All right. So this is the struct for our pizza, and now we need to implement it. Right? So let's do that right away. Okay. So we'll just have a simple function called new. Yeah. Which will help us create a new pizza. Yeah. Using the struct. All right. So we'll just take in a UUID and the pizza name, and we'll return a pizza. All right. So this will just be pizza, UUID, pizza name. All right. right? It is as simple as that. Yeah. So basically, this new function here will create or will allow us to create a new pizza. Okay, whenever the user or the front end calls the post endpoint, right, over here, right, by pizza, yeah, to do so, all right. So we'll use this in conjunction with our pizza struct, yeah. All right, so if you're coming from a Node.js background, you might be familiar with ORMs, yeah. So take, for example, SQLize, yeah. Okay, so over here, we are not actually using an ORM, okay, but we are directly interfacing with SurrealDB, yeah. So say, for example, if we wanted to get all pizzas from SurrealDB, yeah, we could create a new function in, right, the database.rs, yeah. And over here in the implementation for database, okay, we can say pub async, right, get all pizzas, yeah, right. This will require itself and will return, okay, some or none of a vector of pizzas, yeah. So that's what the option is for, yeah, right. So hence, this is why we need the pizza struct as well, right? Okay, so here it's quite straightforward. We just do a simple select of all the pizzas from our SurrealDB. So we'll say let result equals to self, yeah, dot client. So this self is referring to our database struct, and the client is the SurrealDB client in it, yeah. So remember our client here, all right. Okay, let's come back to this and we'll do select, right? And okay, we'll pass in pizza, right? Dot await, since this is asynchronous, yeah. And we'll do a simple pattern matching here, yeah. So match result, all right. And since this is using an option, so it's going to be okay, right? Or rather, since this is using a result, it's either okay or error, yeah. All right, so this will be using all pizzas, okay. And we'll say some all pizzas, all right. And if there was an error, okay, we don't need the results, so we use an underscore to let Rust know that, hey, ignore the results here and just return none. All right. Right. So save that and you'll notice that Rust is automatically able to infer that, hey, this returns a vector of pizzas. Yeah. I mean, provided that there was no errors. All right. So now we have this get all pizzas function. Yeah. We can call this new function in our get pizzas endpoint. All right. So let's jump over to there. Right over here in our main.rs. Right here, we'll update this function over here and use our SurrealDB, right, to call that function that we just created. All right. So in order to do that, we need to pass in the DB itself. Right. So over here, we'll say DB data. Yeah. All right. And we'll say database. Okay. And we're going to remove this line. Right, remove. And we'll say let pizzas equals to db.get. Okay, you notice that the new function that we just created, get underscore all underscore pizzas, is now available for our usage. And we'll say dot await, yeah. And we'll do a simple pattern matching here. So we'll say match pizzas. And if we have found some pizzas. Yeah. Okay, we'll just return for now. Yeah. An okay response. All right. Dot body. And because we want to show the results, okay, we just do a simple format. All right. So body, format. Okay, and okay, we just want to print it out. Right. So found underscore pizzas. Okay, but if we didn't find anything, okay, we just return an error. Okay, using our HTTP response, a simple error string, that is. Yeah. So save that. All right. Okay, and let's go back to Postman to try out the endpoint now. Yeah. All right. Now, if we go back to Postman over here, and you see that, okay, we're getting an empty vector as the result. Yeah, when we try to use this get/pizzas endpoint again, because there are no pizzas in the SurrealDB yet. Yeah. So next, let's add a new pizza to it. All right. So let's go back to Helix, our Rust code. Yeah, and let's go to database.rs, which is where we're at right now. And we're going to add a new function here. And let's call it add pizza, right? So once again, pub async function add underscore pizza. Same thing, we need the database struct itself. Yeah. And this time we need the new pizza that we need to add to the database. Yeah. And of course, we want to return the result of the newly created pizza, right? So we use option for that. All right. And we'll say let created underscore pizza equals to self. Let's do dot client. Okay. We want to once again use the SurrealDB client in our database struct. Okay, and we'll call the create function. Yeah, provided by the client. All right, and over here, this will be pizza. Yeah, and we'll just pass in the UUID of our new pizza. All right. Okay, we'll call clone here since we are not using any references for now. Yeah, dot content. And we'll use the new pizza, yeah, as the content for the new pizza in our SurrealDB. And because this is async, let's do an await. And okay, we'll do a simple pattern matching to determine if this was successful. Right, so if it was, right, we'll say created, and we'll just return the pizza. Yeah. Okay, if not, okay, we'll just return empty. All right. So save. All right. And let's go back to our /bypizza post endpoint. Yeah. So that is in our main.rs. Okay. So we're going to modify this function over here. Yeah. So that we can call that newly added add underscore pizza function. All right. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so we have to modify once again the signature of the function. Yeah, because we need the data from the SurrealDB. All right. So once again, we will do DB. Yeah, data database. Right. So this is similar to what we did for our get pizzas endpoint. Yeah. Okay. So of course, once again, we need to validate it. Yeah, same thing here, right? This line validates it. Yeah, same thing. Okay. Okay, but where it is different is now, okay, we need to create a UUID. Yeah, that we will use as the unique identifier for this new pizza. So we'll say let mutable buffer goes to UUID. Yeah. So that is the crate that we installed, yeah, at the start. Okay, and let's make sure that this is imported correctly. Okay, let's take a look at the top. Okay, most likely we will need to import it. Okay, so we'll say use UUID. All right, okay, and back here, yeah, you can see now, okay, we can use this, yeah. Let's remove this. Okay, and so we'll say UUID, UUID, all right, and code buffer, all right. So this will give us a mutable buffer where we will be able to create our new UUID, right? So new underscore UUID equals to UUID. Okay, we'll use the version 4 generator to create a random UUID. All right. And we call the simple function here, yeah. And we'll encode it. Okay, and all in lower case, right? Hence the encode underscore lower, right? And we'll pass in the reference to the mutable buffer that we just created, all right? And let's create a new pizza here. Okay, using db dot add underscore pizza, right? Which is the new function that we just added to database.rs, yeah? Okay, so over here, okay, we'll create a new pizza using our pizza struct, yeah? So pizza new, remember that function, yeah? Okay, we'll say string from new underscore UUID. Okay, and we also pass in the name of the pizza. So pizza name, yeah. And we'll say dot await, yeah. Since this is an asynchronous operation, yeah. Okay, and we'll do once again, some simple pattern matching, right, to check if this was a successful operation in creating the new pizza in our SurrealDB, yeah. So match underscore new pizza. Right, let me just scroll up a little bit. Okay, and if this was successful, okay, we'll just return a simple HTTP response for now. Okay. Okay, and we'll use format to return the results. Yeah. So over here we'll say created new pizza. Okay, and we will print this out. So over here we will just have to pass in the created pizza. Yeah. Okay, but if there was an error, okay, we'll just print out some other random message. Okay, I guess we can do error buying pizza. All right, so we can do that. All right. Okay, and let's remove this since this is no longer required. Yeah. All right, and let's save this. Okay, this is because we have not imported pizza yet. So let's do that real quick. Yep. Okay, so to fix this, okay, all we have to do is go to our models.rs. Yeah, because here we have not made it public yet. So pub use pizza, yeah. Right, similar to what we did for our buy pizza request and our update pizza URL. All right. And let's go to main.rs, and over here, okay, we just need to import it. Yeah, which is what we can do at the top here, right next to update pizza URL. We just need to import pizza, right, as well. Save that. Okay, and the error should be gone. All right. Okay, so now let's go back to Postman and test this out. Yeah. So let's go back to Postman, over here to our post endpoint, right, /buy pizza. Okay, over here, let's make sure we change the body type to raw and to JSON as well. Okay, and if we just pass in an empty body, you can see that the validator crate is working its magic, right? It already tells you that, hey, you need to give us the pizza name. Yeah. So let's do that. So we'll pass in the pizza name here, right above me. Yeah. And let's start with maybe triple cheese pizza. All right. Okay, so watch what happens when I click send. Yeah. So now it says, hey, you have created a new pizza with this UUID and a pizza name. Yeah. All right. Now let's go back to our get endpoint at /pizzas. So now, okay, remember previously, okay, when we use this endpoint, we gotten back an empty vector because the database was empty. Okay, but watch what happens when we click on send again. And now, okay, we have our first pizza in the database over here. Yeah. Okay, so what happens if we add more pizzas, right? Using this post endpoint here. Yeah, so for example, we can say maybe, let's do a meat supreme pizza, for example. Yeah. Send. Okay, so we added a new pizza to our SurrealDB. And if we go back to our get endpoint again, okay, now you'll notice we have 2 pizzas, right? Okay, as shown by the response here. All right, so with Rust, there's no such thing as now. Okay, but that encourages you to think ahead in terms of what possible errors your program could get, right? Especially at runtime. So for example, for our 3 endpoints that we have created here, yeah, we could get no pizzas when we try to retrieve all of the pizzas from the get endpoint, or there could be an error in creating a new pizza or updating an existing pizza. Yeah. Yeah. So to cater for those possible errors, yeah, we're going to create a new enum, right? Short for enumeration. Yeah. Called pizza error. All right. So to do that, let's create a new error.rs. This will tell Rust that we have an error subfolder. Yeah. Right. And in here, let's say, okay, pub mod, a public module, pizza underscore errors. Okay, this is not created yet. We'll create it later, which is why when we are typing this, Rust will complain. Yeah. For now, it's fine. Yeah. All right. So let's call our enum pizza error. All right. So save this. All right. And now let's go back to main.rs to let Rust know that, hey, we have a new module, yeah, called error. All right, so go back to main.rs. Let's go all the way to the top. And over here, we can say mod errors. All right. Yeah, so notice that it gives us an error. It says, hey, we cannot find the module file errors.rs or errors/mod.rs. Yeah. All right. So instead of that, we can just say mod error. Yeah, because since we name our file error.rs, yeah, instead of errors.rs. Yeah. Okay, so now we actually have to create a subfolder called error. All right. And we'll create our pizza underscore error in it. Yeah. So this will contain our new enum pizza error here. All right, so we're going to use derive more here, right? So this will allow us to derive a very commonly used trait such as display, yeah, which you can think as the user version of debug, yeah, which is commonly used for outputting the format. All right, so we'll say derive debug display. All right. And here we will declare our new enum, okay, which we mentioned just now. So it's pizza error. So there are a few scenarios here. So one possible error, yeah, which is no pizzas found. All right. We could also have a failure in creating the pizza. So that would be pizza creation failure. And maybe no such pizza found. Yeah. for when you're trying to update an existing pizza. All right, so now if we go back to our error.rs, right, you'll see this error here, yeah, because we have not imported this correctly, right? So let's see, pizza underscore errors, yeah, so have we created that? Pizza underscore errors, right? So it's actually pizza underscore error, yeah, so the naming is very important, yeah, so you can see pizza underscore error is correct. So save that, right? And the error should go away because now the Rust compiler has found our new pizza underscore error module. All right. All right. Same for in our main.rs. Yeah. With the new error module. So now to make this new pizza error enum useful and work with Actix Web, yeah, we need to import and use Actix Web at the top here. So first, obviously, we need Actix Web. Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's say we need the header, content type. Okay. We also need the status code because we want to return the respective status code back to our Postman. Yeah. All right. And of course, the response error. Yep. Okay. And now we need to actually create the implementation for our new pizza error. Yeah, so let's do that. All right, so that would be, okay, implement response error for pizza error. Yeah, because in order for this error, this new enum to work with Actix Web, yeah, we need to do this. Yeah, all right, so there are two methods here that we need to define. So one is error response. Yeah. So you can see the helper text, right? It says by default, the generated response, right, uses a 500 internal server error status code. Yeah. Okay, but we can change that. All right. Okay, so we can say http response, right, build. All right. So self.status code. All right. Let's do a .insert header. Yeah. So that's the header for our response. Yeah. So let's do content type. So this is why we have the content type at the top. Okay. So we want the content type in the response to be of JSON. Yeah. Okay. Which is why we will need to modify our endpoints after this. Yeah. Okay. .body self.toString. All right. Okay, we'll also need to, okay, you might guess it, okay, modify our status code function here as well. Yeah, since we're using it, yeah, over here. Yeah, we're using it here. Yeah. All right. So here we just do a simple pattern matching. So we'll say match self. Yeah. So we want to return, okay, so if we look at the signature of this function here, it returns a status code, right? So the status code here is simply things like error 400, 404 for not found, 401 for authorization issues, or 500 for internal server error, and etc. etc. Yeah. So for example, for pizza error, let's say no pizzas found, right? We want to return, say, not found. So we say status code not found, right? So this will return an error 404 to either Postman or the front end. Yeah. Right. So we can also do the same thing for our pizza creation failure. So for this, I'll go with, let's go with the internal server error, which is error 500. And lastly, for no such pizza found, right, we will go with not found. All right, so that is once again 400. Yeah, so not found. All right. Okay, and save that. Yeah. So basically, this allows, right, Actix Web to return error 404. Yeah, when we cannot find any pizzas, or error 500. Yeah, internal server 500. Yeah, when the creation of a new pizza fails. Yeah, for example. All right, now let's go back to our main.rs because we will need to make some changes to our endpoints. Yeah, in order to leverage on the new error enum that we have just created. All right. So for starters, we are going to change and modify this endpoint. Yeah. To now either return the JSON, yeah, of all the pizzas in our SurrealDB or return no pizzas found error. Yeah. So to facilitate that, okay, we are going to leverage on Rust result enum, yeah, which either returns an OK or an error, which are its two variants. Yeah. So it is a very helpful enum. All right. So first thing first, we need to change our signature of our function here. Okay, so obviously instead of returning this default responder, we're going to change it to result. Okay, what we just mentioned. So it will either return OK or error, right? If you read the helper text here. Okay, so for OK, we want it to return JSON, which is what we mentioned just now. All right. Okay, and a JSON of a vector of pizzas. Yeah. All right. Okay, and if there was an error, okay, we want it to return a pizza error, right? So this new pizza error that we just created, yeah. All right. So that's it for the new return signature, yeah. Okay. So this line is still the same. Okay, we are still getting all the pizzas from the SurrealDB. Okay, but now instead of returning a HTTP response, okay, yeah. Let's remove these two lines since we're gonna change how what is being returned from this pattern matching, right? So if we do a pattern matching here, and if we have results, yeah, found some pizzas, yeah. Okay, we'll say, hey, it's okay. We have the results, and we'll wrap our JSON in the OK, right? And we'll just pass in the found pizzas, yeah? Okay, if there was nothing found, yeah, we'll say pizza error, no pizzas found, yeah? And basically that's it, right? Save that. And let's go back to our Postman, all right? So back here in our Postman, as you can see, previously, when we hit this endpoint, the get/pizzas, we have two new pizzas, but they are not in the JSON format. Yeah, they're also not in a vector format as well. Right. So if we click on send now, all right, so we found an error. Okay, let's go back to Helix. Yeah. So we have an error here. We didn't finish our sentence with a semicolon. All right. All right, that should fix our error. Let's go back to Postman. All right, let's try this again. So if we hit /pizzas again, yeah, so now notice that we have gotten a very nicely formatted JSON, yeah, of a vector of pizzas. Yeah, so one pizza here with its UUID and pizza name, and the second pizza, once again, with its UUID and pizza name. Yeah, and if we randomly add a new pizza, let's add, say, a mushroom pineapple pizza. Yeah, I know some of you might get angry from this, but this is just for demonstration purposes. Yeah. Right, so if we add a new pizza here, all right, and if we go back to the get/pizzas endpoint, now we will get 3 results. Yeah. As you can see from here, yeah, the newly added pizza is here. All right, so we will also update the post/update pizza endpoint, yeah, so that it will now either return JSON, yeah, if the creation was successful, or a pizza error if there was an error in creating the new pizza, right? So let's go back to our Helix. All right, so we're back in Helix now. Okay, so let's go back to our main.rs here. All right, let me just enlarge so that you can see this better. Yeah, maybe even more. All right, so we will need to modify the buy pizza function here. All right, so same thing. Okay, we are not going to change much of the signature of the function, okay, but just what it returns. Yeah, so once again, instead of the default responder, let's change that to result enum. Yeah, once again, it's either a JSON of pizza, right? Just one pizza, since we are creating a new pizza, one. Yeah, okay, or an error, right? Pizza error. Yeah. Okay, and okay, let's go down. Okay, in our pattern matching over here, right? So instead of returning this HTTP response, yeah, okay, we're just going to return our, let's remove that. Okay, we're going to return the JSON wrap around in okay. Yeah, so this is created. So, okay, if there was an error, okay, we'll return an error here. So instead of saying error buying pizza, okay, we'll say error, pizza creation failure. Yeah, so that's one of the errors that we created. Yeah, so save that. All right, so it says that there's an error here. Okay, and the reason for that is because, okay, for this outer pattern matching, yeah, okay, we also need to return an error, right? So over here, okay, you can see that we are returning both either the JSON of the pizza here and here the error. Okay, but over here, okay, if the validation failed, okay, we need to return an error as well. Yeah, so let's change that. Okay, so let's remove this default HTTP response and we'll say pizza error, right? Internal server error. So let's use this. Yeah, right, let's save that. Okay, and the error is gone. Yeah. All right, now let's go back to Postman and see and test the new updated post/by pizza endpoint here. All right, so let's go back to our Postman. Yeah, Postman over here. Let's create a new pizza. Let's call this sushi chicken pizza. Yeah, so this is just something random. Yeah, right. Let's click send. Right, so now, okay, if we drag this up, right, just above me, right, you'll see that now, okay, the result of this new pizza creation returns a JSON, okay, of the pizza with its new UUID and the pizza name that we just passed in. All right, so we will also want to allow users to update existing pizzas. Yeah, so let's go back to Helix. Yeah, so we want to allow users to achieve that, okay, via the patch endpoint, okay, /update pizza and using an existing pizza's UUID. All right. So let's start by going back to our database.rs. Now over here, so you notice that here we only have two functions with the exception of the init function. So one for get all pizzas and one for add pizza. Yeah, so we will need a new function here. All right, so let's do that now. Okay, so let's call this update underscore pizza. All right, so once again, it's going to be async function update pizza. Yeah, okay, once again, we need our database struct. Okay, and we need the UUID, right, of the existing pizza so that we know which pizza to update. Yeah. Okay, and of course, the return type will be an option of pizza. Yeah, our pizza struct, right? So we'll say let find pizza. All right. Equals to self, right? Client. So this is once again using the SurrealDB client. All right. Dot select. Okay, and okay, we want to find from the pizza model. Okay. Okay, and we're going to just use a reference to our UUID here. Okay, dot await. Yeah, so this is getting somewhat long. So I'm going to just do this. Yeah, so it's easier to read. Right, and for this case, we need to explicitly specify the return type. Yeah, so there will be a result enum, okay, of an option of pizza, yeah, or an error. All right, because we could have an error. Yeah. All right, and we'll do some simple pattern matching here. All right, so we'll say match find underscore pizza. Yeah, and if it's found, yeah, quite straightforward. If it's found, all right. Okay, we'll do a match, yeah, of what we found, yeah, and if there's something in it, because it's possible that, okay, so if we found the pizza, right, let me just add a comment here, found the pizza, okay, we straight away update the pizza, yeah, so we'll say let updated pizza. Okay, once again, we need to explicitly, okay, mention the return result here. Yeah, so once again, it will be the same. Okay, it could be an error as well. Self, let's do it on the next line. So self.client, once again, we're using the SurrealDB client here. Dot update, yeah, since we are using this function to update the pizza. Yeah. And okay, we want to update the pizza with this UUID. Yeah, so we're using a reference to that. And this will finalize that using this pizza as the data to update the existing pizza with. Yeah, so UUID will be the same, but for pizza name, okay, so what we want to do here is just do a simple change of the name to say sold. All right. So we'll say string from sold. Yeah, as simple as that. And of course, we need to await this. Yeah. All right. Okay. And once again, let's do a simple pattern matching here again. Match. Okay. And if there was no errors in updating this pizza, we'll just return, okay, the updated pizza. If not, okay, we'll return none. Yeah. All right, pretty straightforward. Yeah. Okay, over here, we want to make sure that we also complete the pattern matching here. So there could be nothing here as well. Yeah, same thing. And if there was an error in finding the pizza, so that will be here. Okay. The other possibility that's not okay. Okay, we'll say error, yeah, none. Right, so we'll save this. Okay, and we'll see that, okay, we have an error here because, okay, we need to do an underscore here. Yep. All right, so this is just a warning here. So it's telling us that, hey, you have this here, but you're not using it. All right, so for now, we're not using it. So we're going to put an underscore in front of it. Yeah. All right. So that is our update underscore pizza function. Okay, let's go back to our main.rs. Right, main.rs. And we'll use that newly created update underscore pizza function in this patch endpoint. Yeah. Okay, so we have to modify this signature of this function here. Yeah. So because now we need the database, the SurrealDB. Yeah. So okay, we also need to pass in our DB database here. All right. And of course, instead of returning the default responder, okay, once again, we need to return the result enum, okay, of either a JSON of pizza, okay, of the updated pizza, or pizza error. Yeah. All right. Okay, so here, okay, we have gotten the UUID from the URL. Yeah. Okay, we just now need to call the function. Okay, update underscore pizza db dot update pizza. Yeah, so that's the new function that we just created. Yeah. Right. So enter. Okay, and we just need to pass in our db and the UUID. And of course, we need to await this. Yeah, and instead of returning the HTTP response here, let's remove that. Yeah, and we'll do a simple pattern matching here. Okay, to check what is in update underscore result. Yeah, so if the updating was successful, we should get an updated pizza back. Yeah, and we'll just once again wrap it around in OK of a JSON of the updated pizza. Okay, if not, okay, we'll just return an error of pizza error. We'll say no such pizza found. Okay, so save this. All right, since we have an error here, let's take a look. Okay, so the reason for this is because, okay, we are using db.update underscore pizza here. Yeah, and if we go to its definition over here, you can see that it's, okay, the first argument is the reference to itself. Yeah, so we don't actually need to pass in db here. So let's remove that. Okay. Yep. So save. And the error should go away. Yeah. All right. Now let's go back to Postman and test this newly updated patch endpoint. All right. So let's go to Postman. All right. So now if we go to this patch endpoint here, okay, so I'm not going to make any changes here, but okay, we're going to pass in 1234 as the UUID. Of course, this pizza, or rather, there are no pizzas with this UUID. Okay, so we should get an error, right? So you see now, okay, above my head, yeah, okay, it says no such pizza found. Yeah, so this is to show that our newly created pizza errors is working. All right. Okay, so in order to get an existing pizza, okay, we're going to use this get endpoint here, and just get one of the pizzas that we have in our SurrealDB. Okay, let me just change, or rather, let's use this. Yeah, so we're going to sell this pizza. Okay, and we're going to change its name to sold. All right, so let's copy the UUID here and paste it here. All right. So now instead of getting no such pizza found, okay, if we click send, okay, notice now, okay, it returns a JSON of the updated pizza, okay, but with the updated pizza name of sold. All right. And if we go back to the get endpoint here, which returns all of the pizzas in our SurrealDB, if we take a look at it again, okay, you notice now, okay, one of them is now sold. All right. So obviously, this is just a demonstration of how to update something in SurrealDB with Actix Web. All right. So you can see how easy it is to set up and use Rust as a backend, okay, using Actix Web with SurrealDB as your database. Yeah, and you can obviously add more endpoints, yeah, such as put or delete methods, yeah, for other features in your backend. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully you have enjoyed this short tutorial on how to use Rust as a backend with Actix Web and SurrealDB. Okay, but okay, there's just one more thing we can do to make this Rust backend with SurrealDB powered by Actix Web even more awesome. All right. So let's dive back into database.rs in our helix. Yeah. So if we take a look at database.rs, yeah. Okay, so you'll notice that with just one model, Pizza, okay, and 3 endpoints, okay, it is already around, what about 79 lines? Yeah. So what happens if you need to add more logic, yeah, more functionality that is related to pizzas? Or what if this backend decides to sell burgers, yeah, as a new model? Yeah. So what would happen then? Yeah. I'm sure you can see where this is going, because okay, we will get so many new functions in our database implementation here, and this will become a hard to maintain mess in the long run. All right. So in order to resolve and prevent that from happening, okay, we are going to leverage on something known as traits in Rust. Yeah. So if you are new to traits in Rust, okay, you can think of them as a way to give types in Rust additional behaviors. Yeah. So they are somewhat similar to interfaces in other languages, where you can define a trait first and create the implementation of that trait for a type. Yeah. Okay, so that is a good way for us to separate out the various functions, yeah, into its own data trait. Yeah, because this is related to database. Yeah, to keep the whole code base more maintainable in the long run as well. All right. So let's not talk too much about this, and let's dive in, yeah, to create our data traits for pizza. All right. For starters, let's create a new data trait, or rather a new pizza underscore data trait.rs file. Yeah. So this will be once again under the DB folder. Okay, and we'll call this file pizza underscore data underscore trait.rs. Yeah. So if you take a look all the way at the left bottom corner, okay, we'll be creating this. Yeah. So this will be a data trait for pizza file. Yeah. All right. So we'll have to use obviously the pizza struct. Yeah. Right. So let's import our pizza. All right. Okay. Obviously we need to use our DB as well. Okay. All right. And of course we need our Actix Web. Okay. And because this involves asynchronous operations with SurrealDB, okay, we will need the asynchronous trait, okay, which is one of the packages that we installed, or rather one of the crates. Yeah, so that's my bad habit. Okay, one of the crates that we installed at the start of this video, okay, which is the async trait crate. Okay, and that's what we're going to use here. So we're going to say use async underscore trait, async underscore trait. All right. And lastly, if there's an error, okay, we'll say SurrealDB error. All right. Okay, so here we'll declare our first trait, okay, which is going to leverage on our async trait, okay, and this trait will be the same name. So this will be PizzaDataTrait, okay, and this is just to define our functions. Yeah, if you recall, okay, we have 3 endpoints: one to retrieve all pizzas, one to buy a pizza, yeah, the post endpoint, and lastly one to update an existing endpoint. Sorry, an existing pizza. Yeah, so update underscore pizza. So we need them. Okay, so first is get all pizzas. Okay, I'm gonna pass in the DB here. All right. because now we're using the functions here in this trait and not in the database struct itself. Yeah, so we'll need to pass in the database later, okay, once we get to modifying the function. Yeah, so next will be our add underscore pizza. Same thing, right? We need our database. All right. Okay, we also need the new pizza. Okay, let's not forget about that. All right, this will return a pizza. All right, and lastly, to update an existing pizza. Okay, once again, obviously we need the database. Okay, and we need the UUID of the pizza that we want to update. Yeah. Okay. All right, so save that. Okay, and now we need to create the actual implementation of this PizzaDataTrait for our database struct. Yeah. All right, so same thing here is async underscore trait. And here we'll say implement. Okay, we want to tell Rust, hey, let's implement and give the PizzaDataTrait to our database struct. Right, so this will, okay, later you'll see, but this will allow us to use the database struct with the three functions here. Okay, as though as these three functions are part of the database struct. So the functions are mostly the same. Okay, so we'll just copy and paste them from our database struct. So let's go to database here. Okay, so get all pizzas, add pizza, and update underscore pizza. Right, so let's do it one by one. Okay, first we have get all pizzas. Right, so I'm going to copy them. Okay, copy this first, and let's paste this here. Yep. All right. Okay, we need some proper formatting. Okay. Yep. Okay, we just need to modify the signature of the function a little bit because now, okay, this is not in the database struct itself, right? So we cannot use a reference to self. Okay, we just have to use the database, the reference to the database that is passed in. All right. Okay, so that's for get all pizzas. Save that. Okay, next we need to copy over the add underscore pizza function. All right. All right, so copy that. Same thing here. Paste it here. Make sure we have proper indentation. And of course, let's remove the reference to self once again. Yeah. Because we are not in a database struct. Yeah. Save that. Okay, and lastly, we need our update underscore pizza function. Same thing here. I'm going to copy this whole function. Yeah. All right. And let's copy that. And let's paste it here in our PizzaDataTrait. Yeah. All right. Okay, same thing, we need proper indentation. Yeah. All right. Okay, and let's make sure to close this properly. All right. Okay, and of course, we need to remove the reference to self and change it to the same as what we have over here. I'm just going to copy this over, yeah. All right. Okay. Okay, and let's remove the additional comma, save that. Okay, now, okay, we have created this new PizzaDataTrait. Okay, but okay, we still have the three functions in our database.rs. So let's remove them. Yeah, since they are no longer needed over there, let's remove them. Yeah. Okay, so remove this and remove this. Yeah. Okay, so now that we have done this, okay, Okay, we'll get an error in main.rs. Okay, let's save this and let's go back to main.rs. Now you'll see, hey, okay, we're getting some errors here. Yeah, because okay, the three functions, yeah, they are not directly in our database struct anymore. Yeah, they are in the new data, the new PizzaDataTrait. Yeah. Okay, but our Rust program is still not aware of our PizzaDataTrait yet. Okay, so in order to resolve that, let's go to db.rs. Okay, and tell Rust, hey, we have a new module and it's called pizza_data_trait. You see, okay, Rust knows that it is there and is prompting us to autocomplete it, basically, yeah. So save that. All right. Okay, now let's go back to main.rs. Okay, and we need to import that PizzaDataTrait here, right, in order to use the three functions that have been relocated in the PizzaDataTrait. All right. Okay, so let's see. I guess we can put that over here. So we'll say use create db. Okay, and we'll say PizzaDataTrait. Okay. Okay, you can see that it is already prompting us. Okay, the autocomplete is working. Yeah, and database. Right, and that's why we can remove this. And let's finish up with the semicolon. Save that. Okay, obviously we still have the errors here, which is why next we'll have to change the tree or modify the three functions, right? The three endpoints. All right, so let's start with our get_pizzas endpoint. All right, so if we take a look at the error here, so you can see that Rust is already telling us what to do. Yeah, so this is why the Rust compiler errors, yeah, are very, very helpful. Yeah, so instead of doing db.get_pizzas, okay, Rust already tells us that, hey, you should use database instead. Yeah, database get_all_pizzas. Yeah, it's that simple. Yeah, okay, of course we need the .await. Yeah, so let's do that. All right, save that. Okay, and okay, notice that it still gives us an error because we need to pass in the DB, yeah, or the reference to our DB. Right, save that. Okay, and the error goes away. Right, so we also need to do the same modification, right, for our post endpoint at /by pizza over here. Okay, and same for our update endpoint here. All right, so here once again, instead of using db, okay, let's remove that. Okay, we'll do database update pizza, sorry, add pizza. Yeah, all right. Okay, and let's save that. Okay, and we also need to pass in our db, right, the reference to our db. All right, so save that. Okay, and notice that the error is gone. All right, let me just change the formatting a little bit. Oh well, it's rather long though. Okay, and lastly for our update pizza endpoint, same thing here. Okay, instead of using this, let me just remove this. Okay, we'll do database update _pizza. Yeah. Okay, and once again, we need to pass in the reference to db. Yeah, so save that. Okay, and the error goes away as well. So let's go back to Postman and test out our three endpoints again. Right, so over here, we're back at Postman, and let's test out our get/pizzas endpoint. Okay, seems like we have an error. Let's take a look. Okay, let's maybe check out our data trait. Oh, yes, we need to update this as well. Yeah, so instead of using our previous version, which is self, when we were still in a database struct, so we need to access the client from the DB that was passed in. Yeah. So if I save this now, all right, that error goes away. And we also need to remove the pub here. Yeah, because there's no need to do that. Yeah. Okay, and same thing here. Let's remove all the self. Just change it to DB. All right, save that. All right, and we also need to make sure that we don't have the same errors at the top for @_pizza. Okay, so once again, this is DB. All right, and same for our get_all_pizzas. All right, so this is DB. So save that, and all the errors should go away. Yeah. So this is why many Rust stations, regard the error messages from Rust as extremely helpful. All right, so let's go back to Postman once again and test this out once again. Right, so you can see that now the endpoint works again. Yeah, it's returning all of the existing pizzas in our SurrealDB. All right, let's test the post endpoint as well. Maybe I'll say BLT pizza, yeah, or maybe cold cut throw pizza, right? Send. All right, you can see that the pizza has been created, and if we check all the pizzas again, yeah, it is here in the list of pizzas, yeah. And now if we want to sell it using the patch endpoint, okay, it should have its name changed to sold. Yeah, so let's check that here in our list of pizzas. Yep, the name is sold. All right, so separating all the database related functions into their own trait, or I would like to call them data trait files or files. Yeah, categorized by their context. So for example, pizzas, anything related to pizzas can be PizzaDataTrait, or anything related to burgers. If you want to start selling burgers, can be burger data traits. Yeah, it helps a lot. Yeah, with maintaining your code in the long run. Yeah, and hopefully this rather long tutorial on how to build your Rust backend with Actix Web and SurrealDB has been helpful. And if you found it helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like and share this video with your friends. And as always, stay awesome and stay safe. Cheers, man.